in terms of training cycles, what is the best training cycle to follow if you are dieting, if your goal is, hey, I want to chase fat loss? And then, reversely, we can get into other goals too. But yeah, it's like, if we're talking about hypertrophy versus strength, what's going to be the better avenue to get from A to B there?
Yeah, I mean, the complexity of the strength movements and the super heavy loads, they're just not going to be great if you're going to be in a caloric deficit. I mean, at least toward the end of the cycle. There's also different ways that you can program strength cycles. So if like the way we do it, going towards a 1-rep max, like, no, you're not going to exceed your PRs and be like super happy with your results if you're in a caloric deficit when we're testing 1-rep maxes. But if your strength phase looks like sets of 3 to 5 with 5 reps from failure, and you're just using it mostly as a way to resensitize to hypertrophy and not necessarily as like, I want to set new PRs and like really impress myself type thing, then I think being in a deficit during that version of strength would be fine. During the version of strength that we have, we do probably want to be sitting at maintenance or a slight surplus, just so that we have enough food to fuel. Like the last thing that you want to do is go up to like a heavy deadlift in week 6 of the cycle, hoping to PR, and then you're famished and you know your sleep is disrupted because you're not eating enough food and you just don't really feel prepared for that heavy load. So hypertrophy is basically going to be conducive to any goal. And that's why we love hypertrophy so much at Paragon, is that if you're in a surplus and you want to gain muscle, boom, hypertrophy is the way to go. If you are at maintenance and you're just trying to, where Lori is and she just wants to maintain body comp, yeah, hypertrophy is where you want to be. And if you're in a deficit, hypertrophy is also where you want to be. There's this big like idea in the internet. Sometimes like people are very confused that there should be like a fat loss program. Like, oh, I'm in fat loss now, so I need to do like high paced circuits and stuff like that. But that's actually very counterintuitive to what you want to do, because those high paced circuits are going to increase your cortisol, inflammatory responses, and things like that. And when you're in a caloric deficit, those are not the things you want. What you want to do is train in a way that allows you to maintain muscle, because most people beyond the newbie stage aren't going to be building muscle while they're in a caloric deficit. And so hypertrophy training is going to be the best way for you to ensure that you can maintain muscle, even though you're not providing your body with a surplus of nutrition.
And maybe you can speak on that a little more, because I feel like if there's a question we get all the time in the Paragon member group, it's, hey, okay, I'm planning to diet here soon. I'm trying to get all my ducks in a row. I'm following this program, but hey, like I know I need to add cardio. And it's so fascinating because again, it's like we have such a different idea and, ideal on how to approach that, because it's like, if you look at, from years and years, it's like I've been coaching 15 plus years, right? So it's like when you start looking at things and, trying to push clients in the direction to make things the easiest, right? Like how can we make the easiest choice, mutually the best choice? And it's like, well, for so many people, it sucks if you are going and doing HIIT workouts or CrossFit or all of these like high intensity, like spin classes. And you're mutually, it's like, so you have this really, really demanding workout, tons of stress. As a result, how do you feel after you go for a run, right? It's like if I go run 5 miles, I come home and I'm starving. I could, eat the entire household, versus like bodybuilding. I just don't get that stimulus. It's like I get home, it's like I can resume normal business. I can eat the food I need to eat. If I have specific macro and calorie targets, I can hit them without a problem, because it's just a different demand of stimulus and it's a different, stress on the body. And so, it's like, why would you want to be working out in ways that might make it harder to hit your macros? Because again, you're under recovering, you don't have that fuel, you don't have the additional carbs you might if you were at maintenance or a surplus. And so it's like, alternatively, if you have the option of, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm just going to bodybuild and lift, and I'm still going to work out really hard and like have fun, get a good workout. Well, why wouldn't you want the diet to be easy? Like, why wouldn't you don't want to play mental gymnastics, right? Like, that's the worst. Like, I remember, it's like I used to, again, this is all way back in the day, but it's like I would be trying to diet while mutually like doing all of this CrossFit and stuff like that. And it'd be like, I'd be going over on my macros. I'd be like having this self-mental spiral of like, hey, like I'm working towards this goal of aesthetics. I'm trying to lose body fat. I know I need to eat less food, but then mutually I'm starving. So, so what am I doing? I keep going over on my macro goals, and it's like, it doesn't have to be that way, right? So it's like, if we can get people aboard the train of, hey, being really specific on what is your goal, and we can have it all. We just maybe can't have it all at once. And so if we can get really specific and say, okay, right now, I want to focus on fat loss. Okay, here's what I need to do with my nutrition. How does my training line up with that? And then you ride off into the sunset. And then you can get back to, the fun and doing all those things. Like, that's the sauce, right?
Yeah.
Helping people optimize that is the sauce. So I think that's just so important to understand. It's like, we can use cardio as a tool, and it's not that cardio is bad. It's just understanding, well, if there's easier ways to get from A to B, well, why wouldn't we want that, right?
Yeah.